The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 202.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library,
the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book
that will enable you to grow personally and professionally.
Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Welcome back to the EL. Today we have Honoree Corder. She's actually a returning guest. And she'll be discussing her latest book, her newest book, which is Business Dating, Applying Relationship Rules in Business for Ultimate Success. I'm glad we had a chance to get her back on because she was one of my favorite interviews in that first 7,500 episodes that I actually did. So I can't wait for you guys to be able to learn. And her parable between dating and business dating is fantastic. So I can't wait for you guys to hear from her. So without further ado, let's bring her on. Welcome, Honoree. And thank you once again for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
It's my pleasure to be back. Thanks so much for having me.
So last time we had you on, we were talking about your other book, Vision to Reality. And for those that didn't get to hear those episodes, they can go back. That was actually episode 64. But I still want to ask the same question that we let off the other one. And that's, will you take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you personally for those that haven't heard that episode?
Sure. So I am an executive coach and speaker and author, multi-time author, and I work with professionals to help them to double their income and triple their time off. So I bill myself as a personal transformation expert because people usually hire me because they want to make more money, but I really like to work on the whole person because there's a definite connection between what's going on the inside and what's going on in your wallet.
Oh, that's excellent. What you're not supposed to say the quote just yet. That was quote worthy right there.
Oh, thanks.
That's question number 5. But anyway, thank you for sharing that. And now let's jump right into your book, Business Dating, Applying Relationship Rules in Business for Ultimate Success, which was, I can say this as we're recording it, it's not available yet, but as this will actually post, it'll be made available a couple of days ago. So April of 2015 is when the book will actually come out. And Honoree, we're going to move quickly. Yep. But our whole goal again here today is to cover those top questions that this future reader, the listener/future reader would like to get answered. And the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing Business Dating?
Well, it's not what was the inspiration, it's more who was the inspiration. My clients were the inspiration and people that I see networking. So it's a networking book. So people go, it's dating and business? No, it's business dating, which is different. It's a networking book. It's my take on how you can develop relationships in business using correlations between personal dating and business dating. Everyone understands what a one-night stand is, right? And we've seen people married for 50 years, and we know the difference between those relationships, but people do not always know the difference in business. And so I kind of break that down and help people to make relationships more effective for themselves and others.
And what would you, just like we talked about last time, there's so many books that are coming out on a daily basis. So what makes your book different from others regarding the same or similar topic?
I wrote it.
That's actually a phenomenal answer. I was at a conference this last week, and that's exactly, they were trying to tell people from the stage, like, what's different about your book, podcast, this, that, you did it. No one else did it. So that was a great answer.
That's right.
So my next question, Honoree, is how did you structure, or how do you suggest the reader engage with your book? Is this one that they can jump in and jump out based on the information they need at that moment? Or did you really write it to be read from front to back?
I wrote it to be read from front to back. I build one thing upon the next. I explain, and obviously we're going to go through the book in a second, but I really walk people on a journey. I take them on a journey with me of building a solid relationship. And I make the case for why they should invest their time in other people as opposed to being transactional. I really want people to be relational. I want them to relate to other people and develop long-lasting, mutually beneficial relationships for the good of all concerned.
So Honoree, we're to my favorite part of the entire interview. And that's where I get to hand over the mic and we really get into the meat and potatoes of what your book's all about. So we take the next 5 to 8 minutes and give this future reader a great idea of what they're going to get when they purchase your book.
Yeah. You ready?
We're ready. Thank you.
Oh, okay, cool. So chapter 1 is business dating. What in the world is business dating? And I just talk about the correlation, like I said, between personal dating, which is two people spending time together to determine what, if anything, they have in common, and whether they should spend more time together. Business dating, networking is exactly the same thing. But a lot of people think, I've met you, now you must be ready to give me your business, to open up your Rolodex or your contacts in your iPhone, or give me your Amex card. And so I talk about why that isn't the case in this first chapter. And I talk about how do you do it right, according to me. And then I get people to think about why they're networking. Why are you out business dating? So what is the purpose of you leaving your office to go to a networking function? What are you trying to accomplish by doing that? And I do that by having them take a step back and think about, why are they actually in business? And how long are they going to be in business? And who do they need to know in order to make the rest of their business career, whether they have 5 minutes or they have a super long runway of 50 years, right? Why they need to, or what relationships they're trying to build, and then what the fruits of building those relationships are. So why would you be relationship oriented as opposed to transactional? Why would you want to know someone in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, as opposed to just selling them your services or selling them the widget and then moving on? So I talk about the benefits of that. And I'll just give a little sneak peek. It's cash, contribution, connection, and other currency. So the 4 C's I talk about in that chapter. And then I also talk about ineffective business dating, what I see people doing wrong, in my opinion. But it's not just my opinion, because as I was writing this book, I talked to lots and lots of people, and they would always nod and go, yes, I've had someone do that to me and it felt awful. Or yes, I really liked that person in the beginning, but then they kind of turned me off with their behavior. So chapter 3 is the art of business dating. And I talk about something that I think is an Honoree original. I've never heard it anywhere else. I talk about something called the trust bridge. When you're developing a relationship with someone, you're on this side of a bridge. And I was explaining this to an Army colonel a couple of days ago. So I said, we're not blowing up the bridge. This is a bridge we want to cross. And so the trust bridge, on one side of it is, I don't know you, I don't like you, and I don't trust you. And on the other side of the bridge is everything you could ever want from a relationship. So think about your best friend, what your best friend would do for you, or what a good friend would do for you. They open up their whole entire world. So you want to get to the other side of the trust bridge with your relationship intact and really strong. So in this chapter, I'm talking about the relationship stages. So the introduction. Stage 1 is nice to meet you. Stage 2 is I'm getting to know you. And all of these stages can take 5 minutes, or they can take 5 months or 5 years. So you have to be willing to stay on the trust bridge for as long as it takes. So then we get to stage 3, which is I think I like you. And then stage 4 is the getting to trust. Stage 5 is I trust you. And then I have a bonus stage, which I'll leave for the readers to discover, but it's where all the really good meaty stuff happens. And then I talk about just giving people a few words of caution, like just having them to take their time. And I dive more into the fruits, the 4 C's. And then we get into chapter 4, and I go into really deeply the do's and the don'ts of business dating. And really there are 2 components. There's what to do and what not to do. And it's very, very simple. And I break those down. So there are 6, 7, 8 not to do's. And then I'm always super excited to get into the positive stuff, because I think you can hear that I'm a positive person. And so I give 8 to do's. And then I have a 3-step process for making the connection. So once you know what not to do and you know what to do, then we're getting into how do you really make a great, strong connection with someone. And I literally give the language for if you want to make an introduction between 2 people, you want to reach out to someone that you don't know, how you do that in such a way that you have success every single time. And then in chapter 5 is called The Structure Sets You Free. And in chapter 5, I reveal for the first time, I talk about it in Vision to Reality, but in this book, I actually give it away, the 12 by 12, which is a matrix, a visual matrix of your network. So it helps you identify who's in your network, who needs to be in your network, who's missing, and then I actually break down how to find those people and get in touch with them and connect with them and add them to your network. And I break that whole system down, and I provide free downloads on my website, because I just think it's, the more people I can help, the better. So I'm making all of that available. So there are 4 stages of the 12 by 12. And it's, first of all, who do you need to have in your network? So step 1 is identify. Step 2 is organize. Step 3 is discover. And step 4 is connect. And then chapter 6 is getting to know you, getting to know all about you. And I think I like you. So I actually relate in this chapter a really bad business date that I had right as I was writing this book. And I'm absolutely convinced it happened because I was writing this book. And I'm just kind of describing what I think many people have gone through many times when they've had that person or people come at them and really want something from them and they just weren't ready to give it up, kind of like in personal dating. So I talk a little bit more about the trust bridge in this chapter. And then I also talk about how to nurture relationships with the people that you are in relationship with and how to stay in touch with them, like different ideas for staying in touch, following up. How do you know how long someone stays in the 12 by 12, when to let them go? Lots of stuff on following up, executing business dating, the second meeting, because a lot of people have a tough time after the first meeting. It's like, okay, we've met, we've exchanged business cards, we've told our story, and then there are crickets. And so I talk about what happens in the second date, the second meeting and beyond, and what you talk about and how you develop that relationship so it continually moves forward. Things to talk about, things to avoid talking about, kind of common sense stuff, what to share about yourself and when, because some people will meet me for the first time and literally tell me everything in that first conversation. And it's like, wow. And I think maybe it's because it's my profession or people feel that about me, but sometimes discretion has a place. And so I talk about when discretion should be applied. And then in chapter 7, I have a theory, and it's just a theory, but it seems to work. Chapter 7 is called What's Your Number? And I think that every person has a number of times that they need to interact with or hear from someone before they feel comfortable, before there's trust. What's interesting is nobody knows your number, not even you. So you don't know if you start to feel comfortable with someone after the 3rd time or the 5th time or the 17th time. And so there is a time period where you've met with someone so many times and all of a sudden you like them. And you don't know why you like them. And it's just the number of times you've been exposed to them or their material. And so I talk about the fact that some people are one and doneers. They're the people that are going to meet you and hire you and engage you because that's it. They've met you, you're their person, and off you go. But that's very rare. The rest of the world needs some time to warm up to you. And so you have to give them that time. So I talk about what the number is and the fact that you just have to be on these dates until someone feels comfortable, and what happens in dates 1, 2, 3, and beyond. And then some more good stuff about follow-up and how just to stay in touch with people in a persistent, polite way as you kind of are, wearing them down in a nice way. Chapter 8 is no plus like plus trust equals $signs. And so you will not get to revenue, you will not get to that part of the relationship, the cash piece, until you've crossed the trust bridge and you've gotten all the way to the other side. And so I give the qualifiers for how to know when to stay in touch with someone, and then making sure that they check those boxes, and it all starts with you. So I'll give the 8 boxes because I think it's a key component of business, whether someone buys the book or not. I always say that you should follow up with a strategic partner or a prospect when 8 things are present and they're in order. So I like them, they like me, and I know that I can help them. If we don't have those 3 present, then we don't move on to the next thing. But if those 3 boxes are checked, then there are the 5 other ones. 1, they require what you're selling. They desire to hire or buy from you. They have pain you can prevent or eliminate, or they have pleasure you can help them attain, or even a void you can help rectify. They're missing something and you can help fill that void. Number 4 is they have the power to make the decision to pay you, or they strongly influence the person who does. And they have the cash to easily, effortlessly, cheerfully, and willingly pay your price or fee. So those are the 8 boxes. Those are the 8 qualifiers or criteria for whether you should stay in touch with someone. And that's really good information to have, because if one of those is missing, then you can move on to the next person. And it's not a finding problem, everybody. There's 7 billion people on the planet. So if one person doesn't meet all 8 boxes, just move on. You'll find somebody that will. So then I talk about keeping the love alive, which is more follow-up, only this time I'm going into direct follow-up and passive follow-up. So what are the things that you can do directly to be in touch with people, and what are the things you can do to just kind of, show up in somebody's inbox now and again, send them a piece of mail, that kind of stuff, things to keep them, to keep you top of mind. And I talk about the fortune is in the follow-up. And then chapter 9 is to know you is to love, hire, and refer you. And so this is about your reputation, your code of conduct, your code of ethics, about keeping secrets, being discreet, being friendly, being someone that people like, having a high friendliness factor. I talk about the cornerstones of healthy relationships. And then finally, in chapter 10, I wrap it up, business dating for ultimate success. So I just kind of get people set up for the journey ahead and remind them to just, keep the smile on their face and to get busy developing great business dating relationships. And that's kind of it.
That's excellent. I think one of my favorite parts is the way that you compared it to dating, just because it's such I think we all have a great reference of what that's like. And then as you're going through and actually talking about the actual business dating, even though it's different, you can kind of chuckle about different experiences you had in the other realm, in the dating realm. So that's it was fantastic. And thank you for taking us through that. Now, this next session, we want to break it down even a step further. And we're going to ask if the reader could only take away one concept, principle, or action item out of your entire book, what would you want that to be?
I think everyone's favorite so far, so it has to be my recommendation, is the 12 by 12. Putting together your 12 by 12 matrix, having a visual of all of your business relationships and knowing who you have, who you're missing. And, when you have someone in your matrix, you want to make sure you follow up with them so you don't miss opportunities. So really getting that piece of the puzzle clear, because a lot of people will say to me, my business comes from tax attorneys. So I think, well, you should have a dozen tax attorneys in your network. How many do you have? 3. What do you mean? You've identified where the lion's share of your business comes from, and yet you're not making it a point to know more of those people. So I call it the directive and non-directive approach to building your network. It's like directive in the fact that it tells you what's missing and where you should go, but it's non-directive in the fact that you get to decide when you're ready to fill those boxes and expand your network.
Excellent. And Honoree, this next question, I'm kind of prefacing them, even though you've already done this, you've run through these before, but I'm looking for your favorite quote from your book, something that you wrote that you feel like would resonate with folks. And if you could take just a minute to explain what it means to you.
Sure. So it's a quote inspired by Dr. Seuss. So in my book, Vision to Reality, I quoted myself at the beginning of every chapter. And so this time I wanted to shake it up. So I didn't do that. I just put quotes throughout the book. But this quote is from chapter 10. It's the very beginning of chapter 10. And it says, "You've read all the way through. Now you know what to do. So go on your way. Go and prosper, I say." And it's just kind of me tipping my hat to Dr. Seuss. It's because most people do not read all the way through a book. I'm sure you know the statistics, right? That people who read past the first chapter are, in the 5% of the population that does. So if someone gets all the way through, I wanted to give them a little opportunity to smile.
That's awesome. I've actually heard the same thing about emails. Yeah, you could have an email list of 30,000 listeners, and people aren't shocked if you asked a question at the end if 2 people actually read far enough to read that aspect, the last 20% of that. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yep.
Honoree, this next question is not about your book, but it's about another recommendation. So you gave us one in the past, and now we're asking for another one. So if there's only one book you could recommend based on the way that it's impacted your life, created a paradigm or a lifestyle shift, what book would you suggest?
The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. I have a lot of books that I could recommend. And when someone asks me to pick just one, I'm like, do you mean just 100?
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
Just 100 of my favorite books, 1,000 of my favorite books. But I think generally speaking, everybody reads kind of the same book. So I tried to pick an outlier that really is, I'm rereading it again. Actually, I've read it. I have the original copy. It now has every color of highlighter in it. I've read it so many times. It's really a fantastic book. And if you like that one book, then Catherine was a prolific writer. She wrote lots of books, so you can really get into her stuff.
Excellent. Well, we haven't had that one recommended before, so I appreciate the new recommendation. Always love adding to the never-ending list of books to read. And Honoree, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to not only get more information on you, but also get more information on your new book, Business Dating?
Well, so my website is the best place to find me. It'll link to every other social media outlet, so honoreecorder.com. And then for right now, I am just having the book available on Amazon. So it's 99 cents for at least the month of April. So get it now.
Excellent. And perfect timing, because it, again, this will air right after the book actually releases. So that is awesome. And again, for the second time, thank you so much for coming on and sharing another baby, your book with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always my pleasure.
Thanks again for listening in today. If you'd like more information on Honoree or her book, Business Dating, check out the show notes at the elpodcast.com.
Looking for your next book idea?
Head over to the elpodcast.com,
where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free.
That's the elpodcast.com.
Till the next time, keep it on the EL.